Hi everybody, I am Greg Owen and today I'm going to show you how to make big profits buying and selling non-performing notes. For over 10 years I've helped hundreds of people out of a mess while at the same time making a ton of money in the process. You'll learn my step-by-step system, so by the end you'll be ready to start immediately. Note buying is a secure way to make big profits because it's backed by real estate. You should expect to make at least 25 to 30% profit in a matter of days and weeks. And you don't need necessarily your own money to do it. So let's get started. This essentially is the process. We're going to start by selecting a property. Then we're going to do some due diligence work before we buy a note. Once we own the note, we have one of 5 different exit strategies, and you'll learn them all in a short while. And then we'll pick up our cash and rinse and repeat. Before you can obtain listing details on suitable properties, we're going to ask you to sign a non-disclosure agreement. We want to protect our intellectual property rights, and we don't want you circumventing us. After that, you'll receive some property listings, an example of which you're going to see very shortly. And for the purposes of this exercise, we're only talking about first position notes. We're not looking at second mortgages or liens, tax liens. They're all covered by other videos. And so we're looking at residential properties in the continental USA. This process works in any state and in fact would easily lend itself to some commercial properties or multifamily properties as well. So as far as our due diligence is concerned, we're going to look at our exit strategy. We want to know the owner's motivation so we can determine the best way to move forward with our note investment. We're going to look at the legal case, much of which is a matter of public record and recorded in the state and county where the property is located. We're going to look and do background research, again for free. You can look up liens, unpaid taxes, outstanding association fees, all of which are relevant. And we're going to determine our timing. We want to see how quickly we can turn this around and get our money out. We're going to look at financing and our return of investments, find lenders that are going to assist us, and then it'll enable us to carry out a budget and a cash flow. All right, so here's an example listing. This is what you'll receive from us. Now, obviously, this is not a real one. You can see 123 Main Street, Anytown, is not in Florida, but there's some important information that you want to look at. Firstly, you want to look at the occupancy status. Is this property occupied? If it's not, is it secure? So you want to see if it's a vacant property, why it's a vacant property, so you can perhaps look at the owner's details and find out perhaps they've moved, got divorced, maybe they've died. Is the property in a state of disrepair? This one, as you can see, is clearly not in that category, but the information next following is very important and it's all relevant. The next due date is simply the date on which the next payment is required. You can see this one goes back to January of 2017. We have an unpaid balance, so we've got an accrued amount of payments that have been missed. We have a total payoff that's due. And we've got a current appraised price. Now notice that the appraised price is less than the payoff total, and that's an important consideration as will become apparent. We have some details on the property, its location, when it was built, what the crime statistics are like, the fact that the property is occupied or not. Maybe look, as you can see this one, it says the co-borrower is deceased. And we've got some other relevant information. The appraisal price, remember, is at 135. Look at that asking price. So if you do not need to do any work on this and you simply have to invest in the note and convince the borrower to work with you and exit quickly, there's a lot of money to be made very quickly. So here are our different exit strategies. You don't need to worry about writing them down at this point, as we're going to go through each and every one in a little bit more detail. So as regards to the purchase of the note, which is our next step, we are going to use an attorney. The reason for that is we're going to sign what's called an assignment of note, which is a legal document, and that's going to be recorded in the courthouse for the county and state where the property is located. Now, the first of our exit strategies is called wholesaling. It's where you broker the note. This is where you simply are going to acquire a note and then have somebody immediately take it off your hands. So once you've found a buyer, you will assign the note through the attorney, and of course, as we've said, that will be recorded in the state and county where the property is located. At that point, the second assignment for your buyer will be recorded simultaneously, and you pick up your cash. It's as simple as that. Now, it's a relatively small amount because it's just a percentage of the overall profits, as the buyer of your note is going to be making the bulk of the profits. But what I like about this is it's very quick. You can make money within 24 or 48 hours. There is no risk, as the risk is assumed by the buyer of, or the assignor of, the note that they're getting from you, and you get to use other people's money. You don't need to use any of your own cash or your own credit. You can make money immediately. And so this is a very quick way of making money and getting some money accrued, so you can then potentially, if you don't have access to financing, you can then obtain financing by using some of your own money. Okay, so the second option that is open as part of our exit strategies is what's called reperformance. So you've got to understand that there are certain terms and conditions that apply when the borrower signs their mortgage and they purchase their house. So we want to initially approach the borrower, and then we want to determine the borrower's abilities. We want to know the story that's occurred with regards to how they became in default, why they've not been making their mortgage payments. There's a story with every one of these, as we've said. So we can draw up a modification agreement as regards to the reperformance of the existing loan. We can execute the appropriate paperwork, and then we can either hold the note and collect the normal monthly mortgage payments, or we can sell it as a performing note. So to give you some idea of some of the options that are open to you and the borrower, here's 3 examples, one of which is you refinance the property. So if the borrower has some equity left in it, we understand that their credit might be a little bit screwed because they've not been making their mortgage payments and they've got a pending foreclosure case against them. But with a little bit of creativity, some friends or relatives, they may well be able to come up with a new mortgage which pays off your existing note in full. And remember, you bought it at a significant discount. And that's a very quick, easy way of making some money. The second option is what's called a forbearance. And that's just a fancy name for a payment holiday. An example of that would be where somebody, say, has lost their job. It was a very well-paid job that they'd had for years, but they got fired, the company went bust or whatever, and they've not been able to make their mortgage payments for, say, a year. But now they found a new job, and it's a job in the same field that's actually paying more money. So they simply want to go back to making their normal monthly mortgage payments, and they want you to forgive them for not paying for 12 months. Well, what you can do is you can extend the loan term by the number of payments that have been missed. So if there were 24 months and 24 years and 6 months of outstanding, and they've missed 12 months, then you simply make it 25 years and 6 months remaining, and they go back to making their normal monthly mortgage payments, at which point you can sell it as a performing note, and you get to make profit very quickly and simply again. Third option is that they can bring the loan current. This is binding on you rather than them. If they want to give you all of the missed payments and bring it current, that is an option that is open to them, and you can't really stop them unless there's specific terms that prevent that in the mortgage note agreement. But again, it's back to a performing note. After 3 or 4 months, you get to keep their monthly payments, and then you can sell it as a performing note at a higher margin than you originally purchased it for. Okay, next option is what's called a deed-in-lieu. That is simply where they hand the property over to you. So again, we approach the borrower, we get their agreement to leave. There is usually some incentive that you will give them to leave the property in good condition and on a certain time frame. They sign the deed that deeds the property over to you. At that point, you then own the property. You can record the mortgage as paid, pay them whatever it is, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, and say thank you very much for your cooperation. You now own the property. You can record the mortgage as settled, and you own it free and clear, and you can simply list it for sale. And at that point, you pick up the dollars. You've got to understand there are certain limitations that a deed in lieu will offer. It's not necessarily going to wipe out any junior liens. If there is a second mortgage on the property, you need to know about that, as a deed in lieu is not going to record that as paid. So maybe one of the other alternative options would be appropriate, or you could potentially approach them prior to the deed being recorded and suggest that you give them a couple of $1,000s to make a junior lien go away. Also bear in mind, outstanding taxes are going to be your responsibility and not the borrower's. So it's important to get that information before we purchase the note. Okay, next option is a short sale. So we approach the borrower and get their agreement to sell the property. So they would list the home for sale. You can assist them in doing this. They're probably going to get a real estate agent local to them that will list it for sale. And you can list it at a price that you stipulate that is approved for the sale to occur. You're not going to need separate approval for a short sale. You've granted permission. The sale is agreed. You're going to set certain terms and issue a term sheet that agrees and outlines the sale. Traditionally, in a short sale, the borrower is not allowed to take any sale proceeds, as it's very often less than the full amount of the property owed on the existing mortgage. You'll notify the title company or lawyer's office of the terms. They will go ahead and complete the conveyancing, and you pick up your cash. Last one is called foreclosure, which is if the borrower doesn't want to deal with us and simply just says, the second word being off, you can instruct the lawyers to go ahead and foreclose. You complete the foreclosure. There's an auction that takes place at the attorney's office, excuse me, and you then usually pick up title of the property as the reserve amount you get to set. It's very often the judgment amount, which is often more than the home is worth. So then you can then list the home for sale and collect your cash as before. So, questions, folks. I want you to, if you have any questions, you can give me a call. You can email me at greg@easyhomestore. Why not like, subscribe, or comment below and give me your thoughts and background and any information you think about how I could improve this. And until the next time, this is Greg at Easy Home Store. Thanks for watching.